Well, look, thank you very much for joining us. This is our first SydBUG meeting in WebEx. Fingers crossed it works okay. There we go. So yeah, we are recording this meeting, and we will make that available on our Bug YouTube channel later this week, hopefully. All things being equal. But yeah, welcome. Hope everyone's safe. Hope everyone's looking after themselves in this very unusual time that we find ourselves in. So yeah, just to get started. Certainly for those in Australia, I know there's a lot of people joining us from around the world, but really like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land where certainly I am and everyone else is within Australia, and their elders past, present and future. Thanks very much for joining us. As I said, give a quick background to the SydBUG. We're a platform that is designed and has been set up for users to facilitate, share, encourage each other, and to sort of implement Bluebeam in an innovative way. We're a pretty diverse group. There's lots of people from walks of life within certainly the engineering industry, but also outside of that industry. And we certainly draw on the resources and the input of a whole host of people from application partners through CAD Group and DPAC and Chinook from Mind Systems, who's presenting for us today, and so many others we've had here. So we get a really good collection of people coming together. And to just run through some of the group, the leadership of our group, our SydBUG committee. We're ably led by myself and Ben in our Arups Canberra office. And we also have a number of other very keen people supporting us, some of whom have been with us since day one, certainly Nicholas. We have Amin Sharudi from Billard Lease, and David as well, who are very keen supporters and very active in making sure everything goes to plan and is on time. And as you would appreciate in this certainly very interesting COVID world, we are also your hosts. So yeah, we welcome you to tonight's meeting, and looking forward to seeing the presenters that we've got tonight. We've got a really diverse group of people today. We've got Tony and Rory on the line from the UK. Good morning over there. I hope it's not too early for you.
Yes. No, it's not at all.
Lovely. We're going to go through sort of very briefly, because we've got 15-minute segments tonight. A bit of a knowledge burst around skills assessments that you can use. I'll let them explain it all, but they've had it developed for a number of other applications, but they've got a really good one that they want to enhance for Bluebeam. We've got Sean from Down Under, from Sydney, and he's from Bluebeam, and he's going to do some give us a demo and a road test of Review 20, which some of you may have already seen and may have already downloaded, may already be using. So he'll give us a few hot tips, and we're going to round out the evening with some clever little markups from Shannon down in Melbourne. Well, I suppose without further ado, I'll hand over to Rory and Tony. And I mean, if you guys just want to share your screen in,
let's see what we do here, Russell. It's the first time I've done this with WebEx, so I'm gonna share some content and probably.
Can we stop share?
No, hold on a minute. Let's share some content. I'll probably share screen 2. You should get a nice picture coming up in a minute. Yeah, you're seeing that. Fantastic. Right, let's Burrow Mump, if anyone's interested in where that is. Right, anyway, I'm eating at a time, so let's let's carry on. So good evening, everyone. My name's Tony Brown. I work for Knowledge Smart based in the UK. Also on the line, you've got our CEO and founder, Rory Vance. Say good morning, Rory, or evening, Rory. And
good afternoon, everybody.
yeah, many thanks to Russell for inviting us to participate at today's meeting, Sam. A copy of this presentation is available for download from the project site. Russell, I have made a couple of changes, so I'm going to send you the latest one after this, and if you could upload that, that would be great. Russell's requested me to be in burst mode today, so I'm a Usain Bolt of presenters. I'm aiming to finish before Russell's 12-minute bell, which means we'll have some time for questions. So I'm going to pass over some of the more wordy slides in the presentation, and you can read them at your own leisure. But I will make an exception for this one. So this is the first slide which introduces us. And the key message here is Knowledge Smart provides online skills assessment service only for the AEC industry. That is our focus. It's our reason to exist. It's all we do. And we've been doing this for over 15 years. So I'm going to skip over these next few slides. Let's start here. I'm going to look at a current case study of a firm who are using our Bluebeam fundamentals test amongst a number of other tests, but obviously this is for Bluebeam, in a multidisciplinary environment. And we're going to walk through the process of getting staff to take the assessment, analyzing the results, and building the training narrative. So a typical Knowledge Smart program, we look down the bottom of this slide, comprises usually these steps. So there's an initial assessment to find out everyone's starting level, review the test results, focus learning plans, and those plans, then reassess after 4 to 6 months from the original assessment to check the skills and knowledge have improved. So really, you know, it's figure out what everyone knows, work out what you're going to do about it, do it, then check it's worked. So the process starts with the Knowledge Smart administrator selecting an assessment from their test library, in this case, Bluebeam Fundamentals. If we have a closer look at this test, it's comprised of 6 different modules. Each module is focused on a specific area of Bluebeam functionality, and the total library comprises 43 questions. And of those, 22 are randomly selected to be presented to the test taker. This means the probability of being presented with exactly the same questions when the test is retaken is very small. Now, that's our standard off-the-shelf test. It's quite normal that a number of our customers would look at the content and edit it to perhaps remove questions that weren't so relevant and add in some that they've created themselves. Invites are sent by the Knowledge Smart administrator. You receive an email in your inbox with a link to the test, and the administrator can check progress to see which are completed, which are in progress, and which have not yet been started. And you can see that in this status column here, completed, not started, and in progress. The Knowledge Smart administrator can view the details of completed tests by clicking on the score. And this report shows the time to answer each question, the overall test time, the score for each question, and the overall test score. The administrator and the test taker can also view a more detailed test report. They can see their own answers and compare them against the correct answers. They get specific coaching notes written by the test author about how to answer the question, along with some relevant background information. And each question has got training tags associated with it. Each test report identifies skills gaps for the user. And this information is collected by compiling a list of the training tags where a question was answered incorrectly. So if we look at question 22 here, it's got a training tag of 3D PDF. The score is 50%, so less than 100. So that drops that training tag down into the skills gaps here. Now, each question can also be associated with specific learning material, which is accessible to the user directly from their test report. So in this case, a question about Bluebeam Studio is linked to the training material on the Bluebeam website. And if any of you work for organizations that are using Eagle Point's Pinnacle series, we have an API-based integration with them, which automatically creates personal learning paths based on the results of an assessment. So we've completed a whole round of assessments. We've got the results in, and what are we going to do with them? So once it's complete, we've a range of data visualization tools to allow us to look at the team or the individual's performance. Using this chart, the Knowledge Smart administrator can monitor the progress of test completion, in this case, based on the structure of the team, which they've done by project discipline. It's clear to see the number of completed, in progress, and not started tests. Those people who have not yet started their tests can be sent regular reminders by email, and all this is linked back to users. So if you want to figure out who are these naughty people who haven't yet started their tests, you're able to do so. The results for each discipline here can be compared. In this case, we're simply looking at just the basic overall scores. However, it could be a more complex analysis and comparison. So in this case, we're looking at results by job title. Fortunately for this audience, I imagine CAD and BIM management has come out at the top, and just above unknown, director and C-level sits somewhere down there. For this particular chart, we're looking at the performance by the architects for each of the modules in the test, which clearly shows that modules M4 and M6 are the weakest areas. This chart looks at the grading of question performance, and this chart shows individual results versus company average with absolute and percentage difference. This is a training tags radar chart. So if you remember all those training tags and skills gaps that were collected on the reports, here we've aggregated them together. So tags that are between 6 and 12 o'clock, these don't appear very often. So these are subjects which are well understood, and spending time training in this area most likely won't have a great benefit. Tags between 12 and 4 o'clock are the most numerous and indicate the more pressing opportunities for improvement. During the test, each user can request training when answering a question. So even though they answer it, if they're not confident that they fully understand the subject, they can digitally put their hand up. And this chart shows which questions in the test attract the most training requests, and these requests can be linked back to individual users. If the person taking the test simply doesn't know the way to go about answering a question, they do have the option to just skip that question. This is recorded by the system, and this chart shows which questions get skipped most often. As with training requests, it's possible to link these skipped questions back to the users. And of course, if questions get skipped a lot, then it's a good indicator that there's a training need. Moving on to benchmarking. So we can provide benchmarking information for how the rest of the world performs in our tests. This allows an organization to position the performance of their team. And in this case, the rather nice graphic shows the average scores for our Revit for Architecture Fundamentals test. And you'll see Australia and New Zealand performing quite well. In the case of this case study, the global benchmark for our Bluebeam Fundamentals test is 64% in 49 minutes. This case study firm at the moment is 69% in 34 minutes. So their score is not hugely different, so they're pretty similar to the normal population of people who've undertaken our test, but they are significantly quicker. Right, so in that quick blast through Knowledge Smart, we've had a quick look at the Bluebeam Fundamentals test structure, how to manage test invites, test reports with coaching and links to learning, looked at the visualization of the test results and how that charting helps identify collective and individual training needs. And I'll just finish with a request. We would like your help. We do have a Bluebeam Fundamentals test. It is now a few years old, and with the help of Sean, we've created a short SydBUG Bluebeam test made specifically for this group. And we would welcome feedback on the level and applicability of our of our Bluebeam tests, along with ideas for improvements. You are the people who get to use this product in the field, and we'd appreciate it if you could review what we do and tell us what would be better or what works well. So if you're interested in giving us your opinion, then please pass your email address to Russell and we'll get you invited to a test. So that's me done. That was my burst mode, Russell. Thank you for your time today.
Excellent.
Rory, you've got a minute or two to chip in if you want. he's gone.
No worries. Well, that was really good. Thank you very much, Tony, for that. That was an awesome presentation. Yeah, look, please, everyone, send through your thoughts. And also, too, we will, try and get you that information passed through to Tony, and then, get you logged into the test and please provide their feedback. I mean, it'll be helpful for everyone to do. Rightio. I suppose we'll move right along.
Yep.
Now our next slide. If I jump back in here, share my screen.
I don't need to hand back. I don't need to hand back to you, do I, on this one?
I can do that. Okay. So, oops. So yeah, look, we've got Sean from Sydney. He's Bluebeam's Insights Global Insights Director. I think that's what it is. Sean can correct me. I will stand corrected. But yeah, look, Sean, the floor is yours, and show us review 20 and all the bells and whistles.
Thanks, mate. So is my audio?
Yeah, I can see your screen, so hopefully everyone else can.
Cool. You can see my screen and hear my voice. It's amazing. That was a really impressive burst mode by Tony, and I'll see if I can mimic that. So without getting into any kind of complications, yeah, I'm the Industry Solutions Manager for Bluebeam, which really means I focus on two things, which is the tech solutions and various workflows across various industries, and also getting feedback for localization. So the feedback can be everything from language used to things as important as Australian servers for data residency, which we'll get to very soon. So what I'm going to show here is review 20. We can go into all kinds of detail on these things. We'll keep it very concise here to match the burst mode. We'll just focus on three things. So we'll show Studio, we'll show some markups and some of the improvements on the markups, and we'll do a little bit of markups, list, and filtering. So let's start with Studio. Most important thing to see here is that when you log in, you have the Studio AU option. So that has been that's probably the most important part of this presentation, is just to make sure everyone's aware of that. It's been a quest to get that done. Every presentation and user group and conference we've been to, it gets requested. A lot of people have told me that because of not having residency over here for data, they couldn't actually try Studio. So this is now opened up. So without any further ado, let's just log in. So when you sign in, you got to go and create a new account, because this is a new server here. I won't access your information. Everything is just based over here. So I won't go through it here, but making a new account is a very simple process. When you sign in, let me just log in here. It's the exact same process with a few improvements. So first of all, you see here we have on the left, you got a joined and not joined area. That's telling me that I have currently been invited to these two Bluebeam sessions, but not actually joined them. So that will make more sense as we go along. What it really means is that before you had to go join a session, press join and type in the 9-digit ID. Now you can just click on them. And also you can see if you've seen the email and not gotten around to it, you can easily just jump back into it. When you go and start a new session, so I'll call this user group. It doesn't actually matter which files I've added. I will press OK. And I won't go through all these options. We can do a separate session on Studio here, but we've mentioned these before. The important part is that when you get to administering this and trying to streamline it, what we now get is an option for sending different types of emails. So you can use the address book. You can use various types of groups. What I'm going to do is go to an email, copy everyone's addresses, and when I go to paste, you will see that I've sent this to Kelly, Doug, Megan, and Mick. I'll also add in my own personal email address. So when I check these emails, it groups them. It tells me there's 4 from Bluebeam and 1 from somewhere else. So you can go and do various simple things like erasing those and everything else. So what you're doing is the same process in a very, very streamlined and effectively simplified interface. So having the server is super exciting. If that wasn't enough, we've got extra functionality to make it easier to use it as well. So when I press invite, these get sent out to all these guys. So what we now have is on my session, I can see that I'm online, obviously. On the not joined tab, I can see the 4 guys I've invited. If in a few weeks' time somebody important hasn't jumped on here, I can click on their name and resend the invitation, send a reminder. At any stage, I can press that email button as well and redo the process. So it makes it very, very simple to get started. What we now have is the correct solution and a very, very simple process to get into it. So the reason this is so exciting really is that people have been telling me that the AU server is almost like Studio in general is a new feature because it's been off limits for so long because of government projects and everything else. So I could say a lot more about this, and I would like to, but trying to mimic Tony's burst mode and keep going through all the content. So we'll park that to one side for a while. Happy to come back to it at some stage and move on to markups. So one of the most popular features in review is creating the basic markups where you go to a callout. So if I was to do one here, I would click on the area and type in, let's see, hand sanitizer would say, which is something that would be happening on many plans these days. We've always had the option to add extra leaders, so you can right click and add a leader. What happens now is when you add it, it's got some intelligence where it snaps to the correct area of the text box. As you move it around, it gets all interactive and keeps up to date with what you're doing. You can also, if you want to, click on the grips and drag both leaders together. So you got quite a bit of control over this. It's basically saving you a whole bunch of repetitive clicking that you would have to do previously, making it more efficient and also preventing frustration. So it's a simple little trick that will make your day-to-day life easier. There's a few extra variations on this. In the short time, I'll just show one of them. One of the feedbacks people have had is that when you go and do a measurement of a length, let's say put one here, this length could actually represent a wall. And you would then have to go and redraw the wall. So what we're now going to do is change the line style to, I'll do a very simplified version, a double line. I'll make it, let's say, I'll make it blue so it stands out a little bit. You could remove the start and end arrows, and I won't go to too much trouble. You could change the text to blue as well, we'll say. With this done, you can hold shift, move the text away from the actual length measurement. And what you now have is a length measurement, which is actually behaving as a annotation as well. So we're marking up the wall and measuring the length at the same time. So again, a very, very simple enhancement that gives you a whole bunch of functionality. So it just makes some of these ongoing tasks quicker to move with. Then what we can do is also, I should mention very quickly before I run out of time, you can right click these and remove the leaders as well. So if I right click, I can delete and delete. When I do this, this callout has been reduced to a text box. So you can interchange between text boxes and callouts. And the other thing to mention very quickly is that we now have an extra option to add a hexagon shape. That's more relevant if you're working in, say, oil and gas. I think some MEP guys use it too, but oil and gas have got some very specific needs for this. So the day-to-day features have been tweaked up to do, you know, small things that make a big difference, the 1%ers as we call them in sport. And they link, everything links up to Studio afterwards. So in the few minutes I got left, let me show you a feature that I'm very excited about, which is the enhancements to the markups list. So filtering is one of the most important parts of any type of data extraction. So when you press the filter button now, you can see a few variations on the interface. So the all button appears above each column. If I click on the colors, I can see each color I've got and click on them individually. You can do a whole bunch of combinations here. In the short term that we have, let me just go to date. I'll click on today. That just shows me the two markups we did today. You could do something far more ambitious and say clear that, go to custom. You could say date was before, and let's go back to January. So let's say it was before 2020 and date was after. Let's go back again. Let's say it was after 2017. That's a pretty broad range. When you press apply, it shows you all those markups that we've got in that date range. That can be enhanced. We can go and look at the subject and say, just show me, let's say, the contractors markups in that range, or change it again, go for the engineers only. Once that's been done, you go to your filter list and you can save that. So we will call this 2018 2019 engineers. Once you save that, you can reuse it. So instead of doing it each time, or instead of not doing it because it's too much hassle, you can go and keep on going with that. You could spend hours playing with this and showing multiple scenarios. There's one in particular that I'm quite fond of, which is, let me just clear this one. On the comments section, you can see that the word provide is used a lot in this example. So if it wasn't categorized correctly, on comments, you can go and filter and say custom filter where the comment begins with the word provide. Press apply, and these are all the instructions that were given to us. So provide a large plan, provide detail, etc., etc. You could further refine that and refine by engineer, by architect, by everything else that you need, or date ranges. So depending on what you have to do, you can build some very, very subtle and clever filters to go through all these. So again, happy to go through a whole bunch more detail, but the point really is that everything we're doing here feeds back up into Studio, and the fact that we got the Studio server here means that we've got no excuse not to be using it in all kinds of detail. So get into it, talk to your resellers, talk to us, talk to whoever you need to get involved in it, and yeah, we look forward to doing more with it. So am I on time, Russell?
Sorry, you have 1 minute 30 to go. Oh, I was just on mute. Killing it.
Okay, no worries. I can do some more filters, or we can ask some questions. Some of the other filters that you would do are filtering by status, which again, you'd love to go and set those up and have colors changing with status and do various combinations of those. I think the important part really is that if I was to open up a new drawing or a new file here, I could simply apply that filter straight away. So once you've got a consistent set of markups coming in, you can have the filter set up beforehand and go through them in detail.
Just a quick one, I suppose. As with other new additions to review, is everything like all your customization, you know, your tool chests, line types, hatch patterns, whatever, are they all still compatible with 20?
Yes, yeah. I haven't tested in detail, but I've customized a whole bunch of line types here for one of the web sessions we did for underground services. They've all come in fine. I mean, for these walls and everything else, you could easily customize this to match the hatching pattern. So you could, of course, build all kinds of combinations for those. So yeah, everything comes across. I think you will have to transport your previous studio sessions onto the AU server from scratch, but once that's done, you're ready to rock.
Cool. That's good. Is there any more questions from anyone? Cool.
It looks great, Sean. Thanks.
Yes, guys. Yeah, I must say I enjoyed these burst mode presentations. Right, going hardcore fast into it.
Good. Righto. Well, thanks, Sean. That's really great. Really great presentation. And I've actually got myself a copy of View 20, and I haven't had a chance to play too much with it. But yeah, it's a pretty mighty piece of kit, I have to say. Righto. Well, last burst for the meeting is from Melbourne, from Shenot from Mind Systems. He's been doing some great little bursts during the last couple of weeks on Review 20, so I really encourage you to dive into those blue bites. I think they're on some of the earlier ones on YouTube already. Yeah, without further ado.
Okay, thanks, Russell. So taking off, I had this idea because I have a background using Revit, and I wanted to create markups I could stretch, and my background is also with structures, so therefore I want to do structural steel elevations, whether it be a steel and plan or a UB in elevation that I could stretch across a page and have an accurate sizing, so like 1 to 10 details. So first thing I did was, so if I get this UB here, so it's a 360 UB, I thought, well, okay, if I get some lines, so if I just do a line, I'm using snap to content, I get the edge here, shift, get a straight line, and I should use the reuse tool, so then when I do line, I get to do that again and again, right? So I'm just doing any old length here, nothing really too exact. When you make proper content, you want it to be a proper length. Let's get this out of the way. So if I do a group out of this, so because I want them all to stay together, I'm do a right click group. So that's all great, but if I go to stretch it, I only have this almost like scale like stretch, and being that this is clearly not any longer a 360 UB, so that's no good. Now another option is you can hold down Alt and you can get into the individual pieces, and I can hold down Shift, but I have to do this 4 times and it's almost like, why bother? So I came up with another idea, a bit of experimentation. If I do, I'll put a rectangle in the back of this and I'll show you why in a moment. So I'm using 0 line width and a white fill. Snap to markup up is on, and I'm going to go to the back of this one, to the back of this. So when I make this into a stretchable content, I can actually hide information in the background, if I want to keep it as a clean fill, or you may want to change it all to blue if that's your thing. So I'm going to send this to the back, just using the buttons. You could use a right click if you want and order send to back or shortcuts. Right, so the next one is just really important. So let me just turn this snap to markup off. I want to use the snapshot tool. So that's this lasso, or G is a shortcut. Go to G. Now what's important here is go to the very edge. It'd be nice to use snap to markup, but it just doesn't always capture either the top or bottom line. It just misses it, unfortunately. I can't find consistency though, so this is the only way around I have. So now I go to the very edges of like this right in there. That took a snapshot of those 4 lines. Escape, Control V, and here is the 360 UB in elevation. And now these yellow grips I can stretch. So now I have a stretchable elevation. Now what's important is that white background I can now put on top of things, so if you need to help clean up for your details, that information's there. You can change the blend mode if you want, so to make it transparent, because we don't have the what's the highlight? We don't have a highlight feature when we use this snapshot tool, because it's effectively turning it into an image. Now I didn't put any ends on this one up here. I'll show you why. If I do alpha line and I do the thing again, snap to markup, alpha line, right? Now if I do G, I just do a bit lazier this time, right? Control V. Now if you put a line on the end, this is a true stretch in that it's stretching everything, including that line thickness. So you never know how long the end user is going to be needing a beam elevation, or if this is going to be a window or whatever you want to make out of this tool, the ends will be a bit wrong. So what I decided, or what I found out more experimentation is, if I add line thickness to the end, and then if I change it to the right color, this is where it's important to pick the right points. And I think 0.25 will suit this. So I can get the line weights to match up. So if I actually, so for this one, if I copy and make it shorter, you probably find that 0.25 is not enough, so you might have to put that up to a thicker amount, even up to 1.25 to make it look correct, because it's actually stretching it. So this can now be used into your tool chest, and some examples we have here is, say, in plan view, you can get the 360 UB or whatever beam size you got, or it might be your windows, and then this is maybe the mullions or whatever you want to set up, or double sashes. And you can stretch this, and if you want to, put the ends on. Easy enough. Okay, so the other one I want to show you tonight is I was playing around with doing cleat plates, and I keep thinking to myself over the years, it'd be really good if I could do some different types of tags, to kind of pre-build information into the markup that you can decide whether you want it on or off. So I made these little cleat plates, and then I noticed that if I turn the show caption on, because I've used sketch to scale, because I noticed the sketch to scale has a label opportunity. So I'll show you how I built this. If I go into the sketch to scale, and I go make sure it's all calibrated, so 1 to 10 is fine for this type of detailing. So if I do an M20 bolt, so it's a 10 mil radius, right, that's all set up there. If I do a label, so I do SydBUG, right, hold down this shift, just like Sean was showing before. If I hold it down properly, you can move the text on the dimension leader he had, so the same workflow here. It's a measurement type tool, so I can move this out of the way. So now to make this into a built up of information, if I draw a line, so your typical bolt head has lines going across it to say it's like a crosshair. Now when you make this into a markup or group, this is what we'll be making it into, you want to always, well, if you can, use the comments here to explain to people how to use it. And if you just do a blanket grab anything, you get a bit of a lottery. I'll try it now with Control G. Well, this hasn't worked, which is a good example of it not working, which is great. The SydBUG here is showing up, which means we can't edit that information. It's grayed out. So I'll undo this. The workflow to get this to work is to select the information that's just a standard markup, so just a general lines or a rectangle, not a measurement markup, not a sketch to scale, and then select the actual sketch to scale at the end, and then make that into a group. Now this here is blank, so we can add our own content. So let's just take this one step further. So if I do a Control C or even Control and Shift, I'll move that up, and I'll move that up again. So that information saved. Now I'm going to put I saved up here a rectangle that I could use as a cleat plate. Let me see, let's put some colors to this. So I'll do as a red markup, and we'll keep the highlight like that, but we'll send it to the back. Spend more time obviously doing an accurate markup. I'll do a line in here as well. Change this line to a dash that you use for cleats. This information here is in a bit of a silly spot, so I'm going to put this here, here, and here. So now I grab my line first, Shift. Now these have the lines grabbed already, so they should work okay. Otherwise we'll have to ungroup it. I'm going to grab my other line at the end here. Come on, blue beam. Has it got it? There we go. Control G to make it into a group. And it's holding on to that information I had before, but that's all right. I can edit this group. So edit and change. So now when you put this into your tool chest, people can see that information, or you put something a bit more valuable in here, right? Now, next thing, you might think, well, some people don't want to use the 10mm cleat plates, 6 CFWs, 2 M20 bolts. So I'll come into here and I'm going to turn that caption off. It does something weird with the markups. It kind of resets it to a central point or something, I guess. You can see where there's a, if I get to it, these dots I use for the M20 bolts and the SydBUG, where they all seem to move down to it. So, easy answer I found with this, because I got pretty disappointed, but you hide the caption. And I should point out, in that caption, they are, actually I'll go back into that. Those captions are the label caption, all right? And it's hidden because it's turned to a group, but the captions are still there. All right, so they're turned off. And then if I go back into add to tool chest, SydBUGs, then the group's in here, so I can rename the group. So do make with an M. So now I have my cleat plate that I can put at the end of a beam that I can then say, should turn this off. And I can say, you know what, I actually want to show the caption, and then I hold down shift, and this information will look better if it was just here. Now, whether you want to use a text box or not, that's fine, but if you want to create content with information in it, and just add more sketch to scales. This cleat plate could have been a sketch to scale. Just remember, we need one, the very first one it selects needs to be a proper just markup line or something like that. So what I sent through to Russell, and you can share with anyone else, is examples of this, so you can use yourself. So there's the stretch command again. So if I ungroup this, I've got tools inside here, so you can ungroup that again, Control G, and now I can stretch things out. Or I can go into there with the Alt, and that's probably going to be too much, and just stretch things and move them around. So different ways you can start to use this, from the stretching and adding text. And as I was saying, I sent through to the SydBUG a little package, sample package, so you can have a play around yourself if you want to make some of your own. Like, this is only steel, but if you want to, like, an idea of how it works and try and break it, and then if it works well, then make doors and windows or MEP content or stuff with cable trays, whatever you want to build out of it. But here's a little set to play with anyway. All right, thanks guys.
Well, look, thanks very much. We're almost done for the evening. Look, that was great. Thanks to Sean, thanks to Shanok, thanks to Tony. That was a really great set of presentations, and I hope everyone got a lot out of it. Look, just do a few announcements just to close the meeting and let everyone sort of get off to their evenings. We do have another meeting. It is on the 1st of December 2020. It will be a virtual event, so I don't think we'll be certainly doing any physical meetings for a wee while, unfortunately. Look, we'd love to have some volunteers to present. I think we might have locked in Deepak for a presentation, or I may just have volunteered him for a presentation, one of the two. But look, we'll have a sort of another, two berths available for people if they want to share their ideas, share their stories, or share their workflow, share anything Bluebeam do. But look, if you do have other stuff that you wanna find out about, there's the communities on LinkedIn, there's the Bug YouTube channel, and there's a whole host of content on A2K's website, CAD Group, Mind Systems, and a number of others. And please make sure if you want more Bluebeam user group involvement, and certainly discussions and interactions. Please make sure for the Melbourne users that join into the Melbourne user group meeting. Their next meeting is at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 15th of September. It is a virtual event, and you can certainly register on Eventbrite. If you just search Eventbrite, you'll certainly pop up. And please join their LinkedIn group as well. If you search for SydBUG in LinkedIn in the search panel, you'll end up with a reference to that group, and please join. They're a great bunch of people. Shanok and Ben have joined us tonight, and so yeah, really recommend you get involved down in Melbourne. A couple other ones just quickly. Building Smart, one of the key organisations in the region for sort of authoring our standards and what we do and how we move in this digital space. Look, please get involved. They have a calendar of events which has a whole host of stuff. Please reach out to them and have a look what's there and see what's there and get involved and get part of the conversation. It's a great one to be part of. A couple of quick ones. Revit Use Group, one of the oldest groups around in Sydney. It's been going for ages. Look, please look them up. They're on Meetup. They've got to hopefully have a few meetings later this year. And for those who are well into their programming, the Dynamo Group's pretty active in Sydney. So yeah. Right, guys, girls, everyone else. Thanks very much. Any questions people have? Any other comments people have? Oh,
Good.
Oh, excellent. No worries. Well, look, I think we'll sign off for the night. Thank you very much for taking the time out after what's probably been a long day for everyone. Yeah, look, we'll be online. We won't be online. This will be uploaded to our site. We'll try and get a recording of Shanok's and cut that in, or have it as a separate presentation. See how that falls on the YouTube channel. But look, we look forward to seeing you all again online on the 1st of December, hopefully in the warmth. Yeah, have a good night, and thank you for dialing in. Speak soon.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.